Alright, well today is the day I've decided to go ahead and get the CSL trunk put on the M3. I've had it for quite some time. One of my good buddies just finally got some paint on it, probably about a week or so ago. And the parts just came from FCP to go ahead and put this wiring harness together. And if you do some research, you're going to notice that it's not plug and play from the license plate lights that are going to come out of your stock trunk. Those are not going to plug into the CSL. So what I have here is essentially, hopefully everything you're going to need, or I'm going to need here, to go ahead and get this wired up and have functional license plate lights for nighttime driving. Okay, so now with this off, really what you're going to want to do is just go ahead and pretty much what we're looking for here is just any connector you see, go ahead and disconnect everything. And then we're going to work it through and pull it out from here. We'll put it to the side. And then I'll go ahead and test that wiring harness I was talking about earlier with our electrical tape, just to make sure that those LED lights, license plate lights, are wired correctly before we heat shrink and solder them and pretty much making them permanent. And also while we're in there too, it'll be a good time to measure roughly, because those wires are all one length, but obviously you got, one that's going to be a little bit farther away than the other, and therefore the wiring, one side does need to be longer. So this will give us an opportunity to go ahead and make sure that our lengths are right before cutting and soldering. This is the wiring harness little template that I'm going off of that's doing the LED. So pretty much, I want to say this part number right here is no longer available. Essentially though, what that one is this pin contact, the two, which are these green wires, which is a bigger gauge than these which are this one. So essentially when you get this, and they just, hopefully it just saves people time. Just, I kind of had to read into it and see what was what. But long story short, quantity 4 are going to be these 4 small gauge wires. They're going to come like this with a pin connector on the side. So I should have showed you before, but all you do is you're going to get this off for you. Okay, so that part number right there are is this right here, this blue connector itself. So you get 1, 2, obviously, so you need 2. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the wires out, you're gonna plug them straight in to where they go right there, and then on top right there, this will, you just push it down and it will lock them in. So essentially I just did that on both of these, and then I'll show you what I'm gonna do for the rest. What you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to run these 4 up into these 2, which you're seeing happen right here. That's where he's showing this heat shrink. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna solder 2 of these onto one side of these, and then we're gonna kind of connect it there. But I think what I'm gonna do at first is go ahead and pull some of the casing off this wire and then run it, and then just throw some electrical tape on it, and then, you know, go ahead and plug it into the factory harness just to make sure that, you know, just for peace of mind, that it is wired correctly before I start soldering and heat shrinking. Okie dokie. So as I was saying, just went ahead and this was the first try. I think this is how it is. So if you look at the connectors, you can see, oh boy, 1, 2. So what I did was I took number one, ran it into one wire, and then I took number two, ran them together into another one. And some electrical tape. Let's go ahead and plug it into the factory harness, turn the key, and hopefully these light up. Okay, so went ahead and plugged this on in to the factory harness. Okay, so I'm pretty sure they should work. If I read that diagram correctly, I'm pretty sure I did, but you know what? Fingers crossed, and hopefully these bad boys light up. Come on, baby, come on. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. First try, I'll take it. Let's go ahead and make the harness pretty, and then we'll keep things moving. Okay, so at the point now where I've cut the wiring to where I think the length is pretty much what we need. It's definitely not too much, but hopefully it's enough. I think it is. I kind of went back and forth though. I'm not a big fan of soldering, but I think it's gonna be a lot cleaner look, and I don't know. I know you're not gonna be able to see it necessarily, but I'm gonna know it's there, and I've decided to go for it and just kind of do a little clean soldering and heat shrink instead of using these wire connectors, which they are heat shrinked on either side, so the connection will still be, it just wouldn't look as good. So I'm hoping I don't regret this decision, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Again, I've got a number two going into number 2, and then we'll have 1, 1 going into number 3. Okay, well, I'm an idiot. Did not have enough of the small gauge. It just was too short. Essentially, you know, you got one over here and the one to the right. I just did not have enough to separate the difference. So, you know what? Just had a little bit more fun soldering and heat shrinking, but here we are. So here's the rough harness. This is what it's gonna look like when it's done. Hold on, I'll give you let me measure it real quick, that way hopefully I can save people time, whoever does this after me. Okay, so I would say roughly on the small gauge, if you just want to go I mean, 10 inches is probably going to be safe on either end. And then really on the larger gauge green wire, this is a little long. But again, I mean, I guess it's better safe than sorry. That way you're not in the boat I was, but got roughly, what? Roughly 5 or 7 inches on that one. Too big, too small. As you can see, I took my time on that one. I don't have anything protecting the body or the paint, obviously, so just taking my time to loosen these top ones ever so much. That way, you just slide it straight up, but it should still retain where it is if you don't back them all the way out. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Figured I'd film this real quick just in case it helps anybody. I'm just taking the, I guess like the lock itself out to transfer it over. You'll have two, what is it, T25s. Boom, boom. And then all you have to do is just rotate it. And it'll pop right out. And that's it. All right, so oh, that would be a V right there. Anyways, everything's back in the trunk. So now it's time to get the wiring harness back fed through. You know, I've had luck every now and then just kind of pushing this up by hand with nothing else straight attached to it. Usually gets caught somewhere around here, and I don't know how small your hands or arms are, but I can't get far enough down to grab it to fold up. So I'm just taking a coat hanger, and also just be careful, don't scratch your car or anything, but it should go right up and really help you guide it to the top to where you can start pulling the rest through. Fantastic. So once we get it far enough up, what we can do is go ahead and take the tape off and just pull it right back out. Boom. Now we just feed the rest up. Perfect. All right. So there it is. And now, just go ahead and feed this through. Go ahead and connect everything, and then we see how she fits. Okay, so when you get the trunk ready to get the BMW emblem back on, you're gonna need to drill out the holes. I'm gonna start, or I already did this, but what I started with was the 7/64, and then I bumped it up, what, 3 more. So what I wanted to do was, I didn't want to put a lot of stress on the fiberglass whatsoever. So I started with that 7/64, which hardly fit in there from the factory holes they gave you, and then just kept stepping it up one by one. So what that was on my side was 7/64, then it went to a 1/8, then it went to a 9/64, and where I ended was a 5/32 is what I ended right there on the drill. And that ended here, which you can get that clear grommet in there nice with that one. There's still some good resistance, so that is not going anywhere, but then again, there's not so much where I'm afraid if I'm forcing it in, I'm cracking anything. Oh, buddy. Okay. Come on. Okay. There we go. I shot a little bit of that quick detailer in the holes just to lube it up a little bit, get it through. Again, maybe I'm being overly cautious, but we are talking about fairly thin fiberglass back here and not a metal trunk, so I don't want to push too much body weight to force anything, but that seemed to work just fine. Emblem is in, and looking good. Moving on. Just want to make sure the inner tails are lined up. Looks pretty good. Oh, this one needs adjusting. All right, go ahead and adjust that one in a little bit, and then we'll start working on, still need to transfer over this for the license plate, and then also we'll adjust either these bump stops, or might need to adjust the latch just to make sure when it closes that we like the lines on everything, and then we should be close to getting finished. Okay, so I'm at the point now where I'm going to start to align the trunk and get it where I'm happy with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and close it now. I think we're pretty close. I went ahead and just unscrewed these from the old trunk, screwed them into the new one, and just tried to start with matching threads. So I'm counting that as, let's just call that 3. And I ended right where it starts going in to call it 3. And then I just matched this one. So theoretically, this should give us a pretty close start, and then we can just kind of adjust from there. Okay, latched. Good sign. Let's see. Looks a little low here. This side actually looks a little bit higher. Okay, so not terrible. So just go ahead and pop that back open, and then I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew those two a little bit, therefore hopefully pushing it up some, and get it to where we're happy. Cool. Let's see. Maybe like a half turn. Start with the half turn, see what it does. This one's a little bit lower, so maybe I'll do like a full turn on this one. Okay, so I would say passenger side looks spot on. Driver's side still a little low. Let's press again. Okay, so that's one more half turn. Oh, okay. So fought us on that. So that means might need to adjust the latch. But the latch with a little bit of effort. Oh yeah, okay. Definitely much closer there. I'm pretty happy with the passenger side. I was wondering if I want to push the trunk in on. No, maybe that's. Anyways, you can probably do this all day if you wanted to. I'm just gonna keep playing with it a little bit, but for now, this is what the finished product's going to be looking like. Pretty happy. Okay, so I've been playing with it for a few minutes. I got it to where I think I'm pretty happy with the height in relation to the body line here. So like I was expecting, I had to raise it enough to where, watch, if you close it, it's not gonna latch on its own. It keeps popping up, and I don't wanna force it much more than that. It should close nice and smooth, seamlessly like that. So what we're gonna do is, you're gonna come in here, you're gonna just pop these out. And then you'll see there's two screws back here. I'm just gonna loosen those up. I'm gonna pull the latch up ever so slightly. Therefore, it should catch much easier higher up, and should be pretty good to go on this install. See what it does. Nope. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, I think we're good. So probably make it a little bit closer, but there you go. Hey, I read somewhere on the forums as well about this. I think somebody probably ordered the same parts, but I don't know if that's what it calls for when you're looking up part numbers or whatever. But these screws they're just not long enough. They go in here and they're just not long enough to pick up on the threading. So the bolt inserts, definitely correct for the trunk. They fit great. These screws just are not long enough. So what I'm gonna do is I will run down to the trusty Ace Hardware, and then I'll just link the bolt size and thread pitch, etc. of whatever I get, and maybe you can find the OE one, or you can just do what I did. So I'm on my last step here, and this is it's a quick modification to these license plate lights. Unfortunately, even though everything here is OE, for whatever reason, these still don't snap in without modifying them. So, you know, essentially you should lock it in here and then snap. It should be tight. Just got done doing this one. But pretty much what's happening here, hopefully you can see it with the GoPro, it doesn't focus at all, but that tooth down there, for one, it's not very thick. I don't know if it's honestly thick enough or open enough for how thick this is, but also you're gonna have to Dremel off, oh my gosh, I don't know, maybe a millimeter or so, because what's happening is this part right here on the trunk is really hitting about right here. So like that whole amount here is just in the way, and it's just too much material. So I'll try to get a GoPro of me doing this. It's probably not going to be the prettiest, but it'll give you an idea of what needs to be done, and maybe you can do it a little bit prettier than I can. So this little rubber sealer, you use double-sided stick, so just carefully pull that back. I want to get this out of the way as you're dremeling. Okay, so I'm using this little, I don't even know what you want to call this bit, but it's just the right size to kind of get in there. So I'm going to try to work this back to about halfway here, and then once it's worked back, I'll take this little sanding wheel and then just try to trim back the extra material I was just saying previously that was kind of getting in the way. That should do it.